Dad, why can't you see me anymore? When 8-year-old Ethan asked this question, his small voice carried a pain no child should ever feel. Nobody knew that his father, Charles Blake, one of Chicago's richest men, was only pretending to be blind to test if his fiancée truly loved him or only wanted his millions. But Charles had no idea that the test he created would uncover something far darker than lies. It would expose a cold-hearted woman hiding behind sweet smiles, an innocent maid walking into a trap she never expected, and a deadly secret growing quietly inside the walls of the Blake mansion. This is a story filled with fear, betrayal, and a truth so painful that it will make you wonder how far a person can go when money controls their soul. And before the truth comes out, someone will cry, someone will beg, and someone will almost lose everything. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Charles Blake sat up slowly on his bed that morning. The soft Chicago light touching the curtains, but nothing inside him felt calm. His chest felt heavy, as if something was sitting on it, refusing to move. He looked toward the door where the sound of a small wheelchair moved gently across the hallway floor. He knew who it was without seeing him. Ethan, his 8-year-old son, the child he loved more than his own breath, was coming to his room again just like he did every morning. The door opened, and Ethan rolled inside with a small drawing sitting on his lap. His voice was soft, and it carried a sadness he did not try to hide. "Dad, why can't you see me anymore?" he asked. Those simple words stabbed through Charles like a knife. His son was innocent, his son was gentle, his son believed everything adults told him, and now he believed his father was blind because Charles needed to test a woman's heart. Charles wanted to pull him close, hold him, and tell him the truth, but he forced himself to keep the act alive. His voice shook a little, but he tried to make it steady as he said, "I am here, Ethan, even if I cannot see you." Ethan nodded slowly. He lifted his drawing, his fingers trembling. It was a picture of a horse, one he imagined running across the big field behind the mansion. "Do you like it, Dad?" he whispered. "I drew it to make you happy." Charles reached out gently, touching the paper he pretended he could not see. "It's beautiful," he said quietly. "Thank you, son." But inside, his heart felt like it was breaking into small pieces. How long could he keep lying to Ethan just to find out if Victoria loved him, or loved the Blake fortune? He told himself the lie was necessary, that he was protecting their future. But watching Ethan turn away with a sad face made him wonder if the price was too high. After Ethan left the room, the mansion became too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes a man think too deeply. Charles sat on the edge of his bed, running his hands through his hair. He remembered the night the thought first came into his mind, the night he realized Victoria's smile never reached her eyes unless he mentioned money, business, or inheritance. He remembered hearing her once on the phone, saying she could not wait to marry into comfort. That word comfort stayed with him. It pressed itself into his thoughts, and never left. He had ignored the warning signs for months, telling himself she was just stressed or tired, but each day something new made him feel colder inside. The way she spoke to Ethan without kindness, the way she moved him aside when she wanted to talk to Charles, the way she rolled her eyes when Ethan dropped a pencil or struggled to move his wheelchair on his own. He needed to know if love was real, or if greed was hiding behind a pretty face. Later that morning, Victoria walked into his room. She smelled like expensive perfume, and she wore a dress that clung to her body as if she chose it to impress only herself. "Good morning, Charles," she said in a sweet voice, but there was no warmth in it. "You should eat. You need strength. Blind people lose balance easily." Charles stayed still. He did not answer her right away, and she did not wait for him to speak. She walked to the window, sighed loudly, and said, "This house feels too heavy these days. Everything takes effort." I did not think I would have to handle so much. A blind fiancé and a child in a wheelchair. She said it calmly, as if she was talking about two broken objects she had to keep in her home. Charles felt his stomach twist. He kept his eyes closed, pretending he could not see her at all, but inside he wished he could stand up right there and confront her. Not yet, he told himself. Not yet. Victoria walked out of the room without checking on Ethan, without asking how he slept, without asking how he felt. She only cared about herself. When the door closed, Charles let out a breath he had been holding. His hands shook a little. The truth he was searching for was already showing itself, but he needed to be sure. He needed to see how far Victoria's heart could go. That afternoon, something happened that shifted the air inside the mansion. A new worker arrived. Her name was Angela, a young maid with kind brown eyes and gentle steps. She came into the house quietly, holding her small bag close to her chest. She looked tired, but humble, like someone who had carried many burdens before reaching the Blake estate. Victoria met her first and looked her up and down with a cold stare. "You clean, you cook, and you stay out of my way," she said sharply. "Do not talk too much. Do not touch anything important." Angela nodded politely, keeping her head down. "Yes, ma'am." But when she walked away, something warm entered the mansion with her. Something soft, something kind, something Victoria had never brought. And Charles did not know it yet, but this woman would be the one to uncover a truth that would nearly destroy everything. Angela closed the door to her small room and placed her bag gently on the chair. The space was quiet, clean, and much nicer than anything she had slept in for months. She sat on the edge of the bed, letting out a long breath. Her mother was sick back in Oklahoma, and she had come all the way to Chicago to work, to send money home, to keep hope alive. She had no idea that inside this beautiful mansion, trouble was growing like a hidden fire. As she took off her coat, she heard a soft knock on the door. When she opened it, she saw Ethan in his wheelchair, holding a small stuffed animal. His voice was shy as he looked up at her. "Hi," he whispered. "Are you the new helper?" Angela bent down so their faces were level. "Yes, sweetheart. My name is Angela. What is your name?" "Ethan," he said softly. "My dad can't see right now, and sometimes things feel different." Her heart melted a little. She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "I am here to help," she said. "You can talk to me anytime." Ethan nodded, but Angela noticed something else. His eyes were sad, the kind of sad that comes from silence and fear. She watched him turn his wheelchair slowly and roll down the hallway. Something inside her told her that this boy carried more pain than he ever spoke about. Later that day, Angela walked quietly into the kitchen to wash some dishes, and she heard voices from the living room. She recognized Victoria's sharp tone. "I cannot do everything in this house," she complained loudly. "I did not sign up to babysit a blind man and a child who cannot walk." Angela froze. Her hands stopped moving. She could hear every word. "You should be grateful I am still here," Victoria continued. "Other women would have run away by now. But I have plans, big plans, and I will not let anything slow me down." Her voice held something cold, something dangerous. Angela stepped back slowly, her heart beating hard. She had only been in the house for a few hours, but she could already feel the tension wrapped around every corner. She kept hearing Ethan's soft voice in her mind. "Things feel different." When Angela walked upstairs to bring fresh towels, she knocked quietly on Charles's door. "Come in," he said. She entered slowly, carrying the towels in her arms. Charles sat on the bed with his dark glasses on, his expression calm but tired. "Your towels, sir," she said softly. "Thank you, Angela," he replied. His tone was warm, unlike Victoria's cold voice. Angela hesitated for a moment, then said gently, "Ethan came to greet me earlier. He seems like a very sweet boy." Charles nodded slowly. "He is," he said. He has been through too much for someone his age. Angela could hear the pain in his voice. She wanted to ask more. She wanted to understand, but she stayed respectful. If you need anything else, sir, I am here.
After she left the room, Charles removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. He had listened carefully to Angela's voice, her steps, her gentle way of speaking. She had kindness, the kind that cannot be faked, and kindness was something Victoria never carried. When evening came, Angela went to find Ethan to ask if he wanted dinner. She found him in his room, curled up in his wheelchair, his face hidden behind his drawing book. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "are you all right?" Ethan wiped his eyes quickly. "I am fine." Angela moved closer and crouched beside him. "You can tell me the truth," she whispered. "I am here to listen." He shook his head at first, but a tear slipped down his cheek. She saw it. She reached out and wiped it gently. Ethan looked at her with a trembling voice. "My dad cannot see me anymore," he said, "and Victoria said she is tired of me. She said I make things hard." Angela felt her heart twist painfully. No child deserves to hear that. Never. She took both his hands in hers. "Ethan, listen to me," she said softly. "You are not a problem. You are a blessing. Anyone who does not see that is blind in their heart." He sniffed. "But she talks to Dad like she cares." Angela thought for a moment. "Sometimes people pretend with their mouth," she said, "but the truth shows in the way they treat others." He leaned his head toward her gently, like a child who needed warmth. Angela placed her hand on his back, soothing him slowly, letting him feel safe. For the first time in a long time, he did not feel alone. Outside the room, Charles stood hidden in the hallway, his back pressed against the wall. He had come looking for Ethan, but what he found was something he did not expect. Angela holding his son, speaking to him with a love that did not belong to a stranger. His throat tightened. He had never heard Ethan open up like that since his mother died. Angela's voice was soft, steady, filled with something real, something that touched both him and the boy. Charles closed his eyes, trying to swallow the ache rising in him. His test for Victoria had already uncovered one truth, but now a new truth was forming slowly, quietly, like a seed growing in the dark. Victoria's love looked loud, polished, and perfect. Angela's love looked quiet, gentle, and true. And for the first time, Charles began to fear that the woman he planned to marry was not the one who truly cared for his family. And somewhere inside the house, something darker was getting ready to rise, something that would soon pull Angela into a danger she never asked for. The next morning arrived with a quiet tension sitting heavy in the halls of the Blake mansion. The sun came up slowly over Chicago, touching the windows with light, but inside the house the air felt cold. Angela woke early, dressed quietly, and stepped out of her small room to begin her work. She moved carefully, her mind still thinking about Ethan's tears from the night before. She wanted to protect him, but she was just a maid in a strange house, and she did not know how far Victoria's anger could go. While she walked toward the kitchen, she heard voices again, Victoria and a friend on the phone. Angela stepped aside quietly. She walked down the hallway with a tight feeling in her chest. Every word, every glare, every warning from Victoria made her worry more for Ethan. But she did not know that someone else had heard that conversation. Charles stood in the shadows near the staircase, his hands clenched slowly. For days he had been pretending he could not see, pretending he did not know, pretending that he needed Victoria to guide him. But now, seeing her speak to Angela like that, seeing the fear she planted in the house, he could feel his patience thinning. Still, he waited. He needed to see how far her heart would go. That evening, the house felt restless.
A storm outside pushed heavy winds against the windows, and the sound echoed through every room. Angela made dinner quietly, keeping her mind focused on simple tasks, trying not to think about the cold words she heard earlier. After dinner, Ethan dropped his pencil while trying to draw at the table. It rolled onto the floor. Before Angela could reach for it, Victoria sighed loudly and said, "Ethan, must you always drop things? Do you enjoy making a mess?" Ethan's face fell. He whispered, "I am sorry." Angela placed her hand gently on his back. "It is all right, sweetheart," she said softly. "It is only a pencil." But Victoria glared. "He must learn." Charles felt his jaw tighten. He kept the act going, but inside him something cracked. His son was hurting, and the woman he planned to marry was the cause. Later that night, when the storm became louder, Angela heard a soft cry coming from Ethan's room. She hurried quietly inside. Ethan sat in his bed, his face wet with tears. "Angela," he whispered, "I had a bad dream." She sat beside him and pulled him close gently. "You are safe," she said. "I am here." As she held him, his small hands gripped her arm tightly, as if he feared she might disappear. He whispered, "I wish you were my mom." Angela closed her eyes as tears formed slowly. "I would love you the same way a mother does," she said in a trembling voice. Standing in the dark hallway, Charles heard those words. His chest felt heavy, softer, confused. Angela brought comfort that no one else did. Ethan trusted her in a way he had never trusted Victoria. But Charles did not know that while his heart softened, a darker plan was forming. A plan that would soon pull Angela into danger she never imagined. The storm outside faded by morning, but the tension inside the Blake mansion only grew stronger. The sky above Chicago looked calm, yet the house felt like it was holding its breath. Angela prepared breakfast with careful hands, but her heart beat with worry. Something felt wrong, something she could not explain. She could feel it in the walls, in the silence, in the way Victoria moved around the house like she owned every breath inside it. Charles sat at the dining table, pretending he could not see anything, but he saw everything. He saw the way Victoria ignored Ethan completely. He saw the way Angela kept glancing at the boy to make sure he was all right. He saw fear in Ethan's eyes, and he saw something darker growing inside Victoria's. When he heard Victoria snap her fingers for Angela to pour her coffee, something inside him tightened.
Victoria folded her arms, pretending to be disappointed. "I am sorry, Charles. I trusted her." Angela felt tears rush to her eyes. Charles looked at her closely, listening to her voice, watching her trembling hands. Deep in his heart, he knew the truth. Victoria had done this. This was a trap, a cruel one. Julian closed his folder. "I must report this to the local authorities. Ms. Angela Reyes will need to remain on the property until further notice." Angela sat on her bed, crying quietly. Ethan rolled near her and held her hand tightly. "I know you did not do it," he whispered. "I know." Charles felt his heart trembling in his chest. He wanted to end the act. He wanted to rip off the blind roll, but he told himself again, "Wait, just a little more." When Julian left, Charles walked to Angela and sat beside her. His voice was soft. "We will fix this. You are not alone." Angela wiped her tears slowly. "Sir, I do not want to bring trouble into your house. Maybe I should leave." Ethan shook his head quickly. "No, please, do not go." Charles reached for her hand. "You are not leaving. Someone is trying to hurt you. Someone is trying to hurt my family. I will find out who." Angela looked up, her eyes tired, her voice shaking. "Why would anyone do this to me?" Charles swallowed. "Because some people cannot stand kindness," he said. "Some people fear it." Angela leaned forward and cried softly. Charles placed a gentle hand on her back. Ethan rested his small hand on her arm. It was the first moment the three of them sat together like a small family. But at that same moment, behind a closed door, Victoria smiled quietly to herself. Her plan was not finished. Angela had been framed. The truth had been twisted, and the deeper danger was already on the way. The night after Angela was framed felt heavier than any night before. The Blake mansion sat in silence, the kind of silence that made the walls feel cold. Angela lay awake on her small bed, staring at the ceiling. She felt like her chest was tight, as if the house itself did not want her there. Tears slid down her cheeks slowly, not because of the necklace, but because of the fear of losing Ethan, the boy who trusted her with his whole heart. At the same time, Charles sat alone in his office with the lights off, thinking deeply. He had watched enough. He had heard enough. He had seen enough. He could not hide behind the act anymore. He knew the truth. Angela was innocent. Victoria had gone too far. And if he waited any longer, more damage would be done, damage that could break the home he was trying to protect. His hands trembled slightly as he picked up the phone and called the one person he trusted outside of the mansion, Dr. Mark Lewis. When the doctor answered, Charles spoke in a low, tired voice. "Mark, I need your help. It is time to end this." Within an hour, Dr. Lewis arrived. Angela covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. Ethan looked up at her with relief and joy. Charles kept his eyes locked on Victoria. "Victoria," he said quietly, "you tried to destroy an innocent woman. You hurt my son. You lied to me. You framed Angela. And you did all of it for money." Victoria shook her head wildly. "No, no, Charles, it is not true. Someone is setting me up." Sheriff Bennett stepped forward. "Victoria Adams," he said firmly, "you are under arrest for conspiracy, falsifying evidence, and harassment." Victoria screamed as the deputies grabbed her arms. She begged, she cried, she tried to pull away, but there was no escape. Her lies had finally caught up with her. As she was dragged out of the mansion, Ethan rolled closer to Angela. She knelt beside him and hugged him tightly. He whispered, "I knew you did not steal anything." Charles walked toward them slowly. When Angela stood up, he took her hand gently. "Angela," he said softly, "I am sorry for everything you went through. You saved my son's heart. You saved my home. And you showed me the truth." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I did not do anything special," she whispered. Charles shook his head. "You did everything special," he said. Ethan reached out and held Angela's hand with his small fingers. "Can she stay with us, Dad?" he asked. "Please?" Charles smiled softly, his voice warm. "As long as she wants to." Angela looked at both of them, and for the first time she felt safe. She felt seen. She felt loved. The three of them stood there in the quiet living room, holding on to one another, forming the family Victoria tried to break. And in that moment, the Blake mansion finally felt warm again. Dear viewers, this story is a reminder that sometimes the people who smile the brightest hide the darkest intentions. And sometimes the people the world overlooks carry the purest hearts. Charles thought he was only testing love, but he discovered something much bigger. He discovered that real love does not shout, it does not pretend, it does not hurt others to rise. Real love is quiet, gentle, patient, And it shows itself in small moments. The way Angela cared for Ethan. The way she stayed even when the world turned against her. The way she protected a child who was not her own. It teaches us that the truth may hide for a while, but it cannot stay buried forever. Lies may try to destroy what is good, but goodness always finds a way back to the light. In the end, the maid who came with nothing became the heart of the home. The boy found safety in her arms, and the billionaire finally opened his eyes, not just to see with sight, but to see with understanding. They became a family, not because of wealth, not because of blood, but because they chose love, they chose trust, and they chose each other. Before you go, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Tell us in the comments where you are watching from, and tell us what you learned from this story. If you want more emotional stories like this, comment "more stories," and you will be the first to receive the next powerful story. Now I leave you with 3 questions to think about. 1. Do you believe Victoria loved Charles at all, or was it only about the money? 2. If you were in Angela's place, would you stay and fight, or would you walk away? 3. What is the most important quality that makes someone truly family? Thank you for watching, and see you in the next emotional story.